Now, let's move on to our investigation, where we will explore the difference between inspired and expired air through a simple practical activity. Before we begin, it's very important to go over some precautions, because in any practical work, safety always comes first. First, make sure to use fresh lime water, because old lime water might already contain calcium carbonate and appear cloudy, which can affect your results. Second, check that the apparatus is clean and completely dry before starting the experiment to ensure accuracy and avoid contamination. Third, never inhale directly through the lime water tube that contains exhaled air, as this can cause contamination or discomfort. Next, blow gently into the tube. If you blow too hard, the lime water might splash into your mouth. Also, carry out the experiment at room temperature, and try to keep it away from strong air currents, as that can interfere with your observations. And finally, handle all glassware carefully to avoid any accidents or breakage. Remember, safety first. Always take these precautions seriously before starting your investigation. Alright, so let's talk about the setup of this experiment and what exactly we're going to do here. In this activity, we are investigating the difference in carbon dioxide levels between the air we breathe in and the air we breathe out. For that, we'll be using a very simple setup involving 2 boiling tubes, rubber tubing, and lime water. Here's how it's arranged. Both boiling tube A and boiling tube B contain clear lime water. Tube A is connected to the inhaled air pathway, and tube B is connected to the exhaled air pathway. These tubes are joined by a set of glass or rubber tubes that allow you to breathe in and out through the setup. Now, here's what we're going to do. You'll first inhale through the tube leading to boiling tube A, allowing fresh air to bubble through the lime water. Then, you'll exhale through the tube leading to boiling tube B, so that your breath passes through that lime water. As you do this, you'll observe a visible change. The lime water in boiling tube B will turn cloudy more quickly than the lime water in tube A. This happens because the air you exhale contains more carbon dioxide, which reacts with the lime water to form calcium carbonate, making it appear milky. So, in simple terms, through this setup, we're going to compare the carbon dioxide content of inspired and expired air by observing which lime water turns cloudy faster. So, let's start with the objective of this experiment. Our aim is to compare the amount of carbon dioxide present in the air we inhale and the air we exhale, and we'll be doing this using a simple lime water test. Now, before we begin, let's go over the apparatus required for this experiment. We'll need 2 clean boiling tubes, labeled A and B, some fresh lime water, which is a clear solution of calcium hydroxide, a piece of rubber tubing or a Y-shaped mouthpiece to breathe in and out through, rubber stoppers with holes to secure the tubes and connect the tubing, and finally, a retort stand or test tube stand to keep the tubes upright and steady. Now, when we set up the experiment, boiling tube A and boiling tube B will each contain lime water. Tube A will be used to test the inhaled air, and tube B will be used to test the exhaled air. The rubber tubing will connect both tubes to the mouthpiece so that when you breathe in, air passes through tube A, and when you breathe out, air passes through tube B. This setup will allow us to visually compare how the lime water reacts to the 2 types of air and determine which one contains more carbon dioxide. Now, let's go through the procedure for our investigation on the differences between inhaled and exhaled air. First, we'll set up 2 boiling tubes, labeled A and B, and fill each with an equal amount of clear lime water. Make sure the tubes are clean and securely placed in a stand so they don't tip over. Next, we'll connect both tubes using rubber tubing attached to a Y-shaped mouthpiece. This setup will allow one tube A, to be used for inhaling, and the other, tube B, for exhaling. Now, here's what you'll do. First, breathe in through tube A, so that the inhaled air passes through the lime water in that tube. Watch carefully to see if there's any change in the lime water's appearance. Then, breathe out through tube B, allowing the exhaled air to bubble through the lime water in that tube. Continue this process gently for a few seconds. As you do this, you'll notice a visible difference. One of the lime water samples will start to turn cloudy or milky faster than the other. We'll observe this change to understand which type of air, inhaled or exhaled, contains more carbon dioxide. Now, let's look at the observation from our investigation on the differences between inhaled and exhaled air. In tube A, which contains the inhaled air, the lime water stays clear and unchanged. This shows that the air we breathe in contains very little carbon dioxide, not enough to cause a visible reaction with the lime water. However, in tube B, which contains the exhaled air, the lime water turns cloudy or milky white after a short while. This change indicates that the air we breathe out contains a much higher amount of carbon dioxide. The milkiness you see is actually caused by the formation of calcium carbonate, which occurs when carbon dioxide reacts with calcium hydroxide present in the lime water. So, the result of this experiment is very clear. The lime water in the tube that receives exhaled air becomes cloudy, while the lime water in the inhaled air tube remains clear. This confirms that the air we exhale has more carbon dioxide than the air we inhale. At last, let's conclude our investigation on the differences between inhaled and exhaled air. From our results, we can clearly see that the exhaled air contains a greater concentration of carbon dioxide than the inhaled air. The lime water in the exhaled air tube turned cloudy, while the lime water in the inhaled air tube stayed clear. This proves that more carbon dioxide is present in the air we breathe out. The reason behind this difference lies in the process of respiration. When we inhale, oxygen from the air enters the lungs and is absorbed into the blood through the alveoli. This oxygen is then used by our body cells to release energy. During this process, carbon dioxide is produced as a waste gas, which is carried back to the lungs through the blood. From there, it is released into the alveoli and exhaled from the body. So, this simple experiment using lime water helps us understand how gas exchange occurs. Oxygen is taken in, and carbon dioxide is released, showing the vital role of our lungs in maintaining the balance of gases in the body.